All right, so Abby, you might feel different about dating your step-sibling after hearing this. This is courtesy of your podcast, The Breakdown, which is on the Pioneer Network.
Yeah, could y'all ever date your step-sibling? I mean, I know you might not have one, but like in theory, could you?
No, absolutely not.
No, because of that word sibling.
Yep.
Sibling, yes.
Even if there's no blood relation, the fact that our parents are married, that is way too close for comfort.
How old are we when we met?
You were in your late teens, early 20s.
Yeah, I could do it.
Yeah. What if you met them before they were married?
Yeah. So if we grew up together, like being parented, like if I'm being parented by your mom, no, because then it feels like a sibling. But if we met in our late teens and maybe lived under the same roof for like a sneeze worth of time, yeah, no problem.
No, you could not.
They're not related to me. And obviously our genes are compatible because our parents got married.
Cassandra.
I'm just saying, how hot is he?
He's hot. Very hot.
Then
like the
yes.
hottest man you've ever seen.
For sure. If I don't look at him like a sibling, like if we're literally not being parented and raised in tandem like that, then I'm not going to see you as a sibling. Now, like if all throughout high school we're being raised together and fighting, then hell no, because I'm looking at you like a brother.
Interesting.
For me, it's the amount of time we've spent under the same roof being raised by the parents.
So I knew people in high school that hooked up with their step-siblings, and I thought that was just kind of a fluke. But when I put this episode out about this woman describing her relationship with her stepbrother, I really thought it would be the most unrelatable episode I've ever put out. I was like, there's no way more than like a handful of people have ever dated their stepbrother and had like a significant experience with it. But when I put this episode out a while back, I got so many DMs of people saying, yeah, I dated my step-sibling. I know somebody else who dated their step-sibling. And apparently it's like a very common experience. So this woman and I got in contact from a submission from somebody else where they had mentioned that this girl was like now an influencer and they'd been friends, at a period in their life. And they knew that she dated her stepbrother. Like it was like a very like known thing. And then that they had broken up and had always just been curious about it because you would think if someone's technically related to you by marriage, you think that would be enough of a turnoff, but it wasn't. And it actually was a very like level-headed story. I know it sounds like, a scandalous, like an adult film plot, but she had a lot of really great things to say. And essentially she met this guy. Their parents hadn't started dating yet, but they were at like a pool party and she saw him and she was like, this is the finest man I have ever seen in my life. I absolutely want to date him. But they never really quite got together until their parents met and got married. And their relationship was actually pretty great. And then all of a sudden, they go off to college, the parents get married, and the stepdaughter and the stepbrother, their relationship starts to progress to the point where they've dated for a couple of years. They get a apartment in Manhattan together and they're living together and everything's great. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hit and I guess their families had differing political views and that caused a lot of tension because now you're living under the same roof as your stepmom and stepdad, your respective parents, and then also the stepkids who are dating. And it was just a very tense environment to where opinions were clashing and you have the parents and then the step siblings and then it just leads into them breaking up. But she wanted the relationship to continue. Even when we were having our conversation on the podcast, she was like, I want to get back together with him. And
so was he the one that called it off?
He was the one that called it off. She was very much wanting to stay with him. And I was like, well, how awkward is that? Because she ended up telling me that he is, I don't know, I mean, this was a while back, but he at the time was dating somebody else and was planning on bringing that person to their family Thanksgiving. And I said, are you going to go? And she goes, well, she can't go. Like, this is my family. Like, you can't be bringing around some other girl.
Yes, you can.
Isn't it his family, too?
Exactly. I'm like, you can't really be policing who people bring around your family. I mean, I know you guys have relationship history, but this is why you don't date your step-sibling.
Exactly. You made that bed.
But I thought it was so interesting that she, when we had our conversation, seemed at the time to be very hung up on this guy. And you really can't avoid them or ignore them because you're related to them by marriage. You're going to see them at family holidays. You're going to have to check in on them because your mom is married to their dad. And
they are family.
It's quite literally family.
Listen, if it's good enough for Cher Horowitz, it's good enough for me. There's a whole movie about this. Clueless. Cher was in love with Josh, obviously Paul Rudd. And nobody batted an eye. Nobody was like, it's weird. They were like, go, Cher, get your man.
It was a very cute love match. and for some reason, I can suspend reality there.
Well, and their house was big enough that you technically would never have to see each other if you broke up.
I don't know. I always felt like that relationship was icky.
Really? Okay. So, but what if you are dating somebody and then the parents end up getting together and getting married, but you were dating first?
That would really make me mad because you make it weird and it didn't need to be weird. This was my boyfriend.
Like, what if you were,
Yeah, no, my parents got to knock it off. We were here first.
I called dibs.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, anyway, if you want to listen to the full episode, it's season 2, episode 12 of my podcast, The Breakup Breakdown, and I'll link it in my Instagram stories.
The Bert Show.